I don't know where he is. He was there a minute ago. Oh well. Yeah. This is what happens when you. The sound came over kind of crappy on that, dude. Sorry to say that. Needs to be a little bit louder.
I have no idea where.
Okay.
What?
Anyway, this is what happens when you buy something cool for the show. You give it to your best friend, and we get nothing done during our meetings because we're dicking around playing with the sound changer on the audio mixer. So we have better production value, but then we just do goofy shit, and yeah. What are you gonna do with a bunch of 11 Bravos? Hi, guys and gals, and everybody out there in viewer land and viewer world and the viewer universe and stuff. Hey, how the hell are you? What's up, you magnificent bastards? This is the latest and greatest. Huh? What you saying?
Olo.
Olo. It's Ola. Right? I'm a little confused.
Negative.
Okay, whatever. This is the latest and greatest episode of the Battle Bros podcast. You may be thinking to yourself, not really, because they're already messing up, but it'll get better. So, yeah. How the hell are you there, Alamo?
Doing fantastic. Doing absolutely. No, not really. No.
I believe
not
that
in a bad way.
believe.
Just kind of that bleh thing. If you catch my drift.
Mojica, right?
More like whatever this fruity drink is.
Well, jelly's not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get to the show. So we'll do that later. Yeah, if you caught our show last week, we talked about success. That was episode 078. Tonight's episode is 079. We'll get to the topic here in a minute, but first, we've got the news for this week. So, jump into this. Oh, wait, I already got the tab open there. So, actually, I don't. Wow. I'm batting 1,000 right now. In keeping with the cool guy factor of, I know.
Or as Owen Wilson usually says, wow.
What did John call him? Good old dick nose? So good.
Wow.
So, in more traditions of firsts for members of the Space Force, we now have Space Cowboys. So, taskandpurpose.com had a great article this last week from May 7th. This was Tuesday. A few different members of the Space Force took and completed the Army Cavalry Spur Ride at the end of April to earn their spurs, which is an official to earn their spurs and official cavalry Stetson and the unofficial title of Space Cowboys. Technically, they're Cavalry Scout Guardians stuff. So, yeah, I mean, we got Space Rangers, we got Space Cowboys. Let's just keep this party going and make it awesome. So, yeah, there was, I think, 3 or 4 members of the Space Force that joined close to 230 Army soldiers from the 1st Armored Brigade combat team in Fort Bliss to earn their spurs. The Order of the Spurs, a cavalry tradition where soldiers serving with cavalry units complete a spur ride. That's where you get your silver spurs. Gold spurs, I believe, are combat spurs. They're just a little bit different. But, I mean, that's pretty dope. You got Space Cowboys. So, insert song from Steve Miller. Space Cowboy.
Heck yeah.
Some call me the gangster of love. Some call me Maurice.
Some people call you Space Cowboy. Bum, 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 bum.
So yeah, that was a cool article to read. If you want to check that out, just go to taskandpurpose.com/Space Cowboys Space Force Cavalry. Check that out. It's pretty cool. So
Just
let's.
follow that website that you see up on the screen if you're watching us.
Oh yeah, that one too. So sorry, a little sweaty. Let's get to the nitty gritty of the show. So last week we were talking about
Mac is
078.
just dealing with a
I have a large
little
head.
lack of AC at the moment.
No, I have plenty of AC on right now.
That too.
I have a large head and I sweat a lot.
That too.
I have a little bit of hair, and it just makes it worse. I need to either shave it all off or have normal length hair, and I'm trying to get normal length hair. So, yeah. So anyway, as we talked about last week, we were talking about we actually talked about success, and the week before that, we were talking about failure and why failure is not always a bad thing, and why last week we talked about why success can be too much of a good thing. Okay, so those are two really good conversations that we had. We enjoyed them, talking about them. So this week we're going to kind of go a little bit different direction. We were getting together on Tuesday, figuring out what we want to talk about, and we brought up the topic that we're going to discuss now. And that topic for episode 079 of the Battle Bros podcast is shame. Shame. Now, you're probably asking yourself, "Hey, Mac, why are we talking about shame?" Well, listen, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, there's okay stuff and there's other things that are bad, and it just kind of depends. That's great. That's my cut back up. It's fantastic. Where Alamo went, but whatever. We'll keep the party going. Yes, I shaved earlier. I'm going out with a friend later tonight for his birthday, and I nicked myself with a straight razor. Oops. I need to practice more often. But anyway, so we're going to talk about shame. We're going to start out by defining what the heck it is. So, shame is defined as a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. Okay. Now, I'm sure as individuals, everybody has felt this once or twice in their lifetime. It is something that can happen when you just don't live up to your expectations. You don't get the desired result you want. I see it quite a bit as so to kind of give a generalized example, because HIPAA laws are real and we don't want to talk about anything. But I've seen this enough that I can talk about in a broad kind of general sense. A lot of times when you have parents that have a child with some form of diagnosis, whether it's on the autism spectrum disorder, some type of learning disability, developmental disability. One of the things now, most parents, they are. I'm not saying this happens a lot, but it happens that every once in a while, you get parents that just kind of like feel
it happens
guilty.
enough to be noticeable.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. You have parents that can sometimes feel shame, like they made their kid this way, and in a sense that is true, because you get half your genetic information from your mother and half of it from your father and stuff, as it works when you learn about genetics. But you don't really
and
have
it goes a lot deeper than that too, though, dude. Like, I mean, like when you think about the amount of okay, for example, there was a case study that I read one time that actually spoke about how not only are you getting like certain genes and certain things to your kids, but in the swap, because of obviously when the sperm meets the egg, this is a two-person game. This isn't a one, like nobody's creating anything like immaculately, right? Those genes are being swapped out between the mother and the baby constantly. So traits from the father are actually going to embed themselves into the female, as well as traits from the mother are going to embed themselves into the child. That's just how it goes. And yeah, there's a reason why sometimes you'll notice, like, some moms will say like, oh man, I didn't have a problem with this before, I had my kid. I had my kid and now all of a sudden I have this. It happens a lot more than you think. And it's because of just the, there's a deeper bond than just, the mom having the child that goes
Right.
into having a child. It's insane how,
Well, the science behind that stuff is
yeah.
fascinating and just mind boggling at the same time.
Hmm.
But as I was saying, a lot of times, and what I've seen more times than I can remember is the fact that like you have parents who just feel like they kind of have this sense of shame because their kid didn't come out typical, pseudo normal. They're, you
Right.
know, there's some type of, they're like neurodivergent or something, along those lines.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty common term. It's thrown around nowadays. Basically anything outside of standard typical developmental, behaviors and all that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a big deal. It's like, yeah, and it sucks because like, it's nothing you did wrong. It's just kind of like, hey, that's the roll of the dice you got. Somebody said, hey, this is how somebody upstairs said this is the plan I have for you. So
And
there you go. I
therein
mean,
lies
depending
the
on,
rub.
yeah, and there's, depending on what you believe and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but that's just one example that I thought of. Other example of like professional shame, like, shame in the military. Like there was, like things happen. You feel shame. Like I kind of feel shameful that I didn't, try harder when I was in the military to try to at least make E5 or stuff like that. There's things that I regret, and it kind of goes that in that sense kind of goes
Yeah.
hand in hand with regret. There's things that I wish I would have tried differently or done, tried harder for, professionally. Um,
Yeah. And
Also like,
I'm right there with you, dude. Because you know, there's definitely some shame I feel sometimes, or mostly like when I first left, that I abandoned my new family. You know what I mean? Like I left them, and you know, a void had to be filled for them. Does that make sense?
yeah, I
Like
get what you're saying.
it's kind of like that. You serve with these guys long enough, and you already know that they're gonna end up going someplace else again at some point, and
Yeah,
it turns into,
and I
well,
kind of felt,
you get it.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I kind of felt the same way too. I mean, especially when we deployed, the the group that deployed, we came from all over the battalion. There were guys who were in Alpha Company, Bravo Company, like myself, Charlie Delta, the whole schmear. We had guys come up from all over the place. So we ended up calling ourselves Easy Company because we were the guys that, because it was 2005. Band of Brothers had just come out a few years before. It was extremely
Mhm.
popular. So that was
Yeah.
kind of like a rallying call for us, like Easy Company. Like, yeah. But also the fact too is like, when we got back home, everybody kind of went back to their parent units and all that kind of stuff. So, and then I got out, and it's like a lot of the guys stayed for at least a little while. I just was like, I had a problem with, just the way that me and some other guys kind of got treated a little bit in battalion. There was a couple of people, and it wasn't many of them, but it was a few guys that were like, kind of like, I had just gone over and done a rotation in Afghanistan, and they were giving me shit because I didn't go with them to Iraq. I went to Afghanistan, and I'm like, that's really kind of like dicked up. Like I deployed just like you did. Um, why does it matter? And that was
Yeah.
kind of a big part of me leaving. It's just like, oh well, we'll do our best to get you promoted. You didn't go to Iraq. I mean, no, I went to Afghanistan. No, you didn't go to Iraq. No, you didn't go to Iraq.
Yeah.
Negative. Go to Afghanistan. Oh, okay, we'll do something. Did you go to Iraq? Yeah. Oh, we're gonna hook you up. We're gonna get you some E5 pay. Blah, blah, blah. Like, so
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it
And that,
was,
and that actually brings up something valid too, brother. Like it kind of makes you like there like the shame game kind of comes in like many different subtle levels. You know what I mean? And like I know that like something I experienced, and you could tell me like it, like it. If you kind of felt like you went through the same thing too, like there's always that feeling of like you could have done more. Um,
Yeah.
And not just to get promoted or not just to, but you, like you're home, you are out, and some of the guys stayed in and they were continuing to do their duty because some of these guys they become lifers, as we all know. um and it just makes you feel uh, like damn, like I have my
Oh yeah.
moments to this day still where I'm like, why the hell didn't I just keep going? You know what I mean? Like I
And
feel like
let
I
me
could do a lot more,
let me cut in real quick because and not just so much for the guys going on to other things, but for me especially, it's seeing guys that I served with getting promoted. Dude, like one of my first squad leaders when I got to Bravo Company is now the state recruiting sergeant major for the state of Florida.
Yeah.
One of the other squad leaders I had, my last squad leader that I had before I got out, is now the battalion command sergeant major for my old battalion, and I'm just like,
I
okay, that's kind of awesome, yeah. So the guys I went to boot camp with have gone and moved up, and guys that I served with have gone and moved up. One guy, um, hell, there's a guy that was in my graduating class. He just put on lieutenant colonel. You
Damn.
remember Philip Ward?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a freaking light colonel now.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
So
like what did he go NCO first and then go OCS, or
no, he went.
what did he
He
do?
was him and a few other guys went to University of Tampa through OCS, and then
UT. Nice.
yeah, he was a Spartan. And um, Philip
Hmm.
branched. I believe, yeah, I believe he branched 88 Air Defense Artillery.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's gonna be like he's gonna get his own battalion in like 2025. He's gonna be like a brigade executive officer or some stuff first, and it's just like, wow, man, like it's crazy to think about. And other guys that I served with, my one of my buddies I went to basic with, um, one of them he actually switched over to the Coast Guard. He's an E6. Another one of my friends is an E6. He's a staff sergeant and
Nice.
still in the Army Guard. One of my buddies, one of my really good friends, he switched over. He's a captain. He's a medical services officer, and he put on captain a couple years ago, I think. So it just kind of makes you think about like what you could have done and should have done, and all that kind of stuff. Or because
Yep.
you could kind of say shame is kind of closely intertwined with regret a little bit. So, but
Yeah. Oh, that's actually I think that's a good thing that we could cover while we're on here too. Yeah.
yeah,
I think there's a very, very big link between the two.
have we already covered that?
What's that? Regrets?
Yeah,
Regrets?
regrets. No regrets. Sorry, dude, I was
Um,
hungry.
you
I'm
know,
looking right now.
I can't even remember. I mean, maybe.
Oh, yeah, we
I
did.
don't know.
Episode. Yeah, did we cover it this year? Covered it this season. Episode 71. Regret.
Yeah.
Wow, that was before St. Patty's Day, so that was the reason. So
Regrets.
sad. Regrets. Should know that. It's like Jesus, we should know that.
We should.
Anyway, we're tired.
Yark.
We're just tired. Yeah. Anyway, so let's get into talking about shame and stuff. So we found a couple of decent articles. We're not going to read the first two. We're going to kind of just pick and choose from because they're longer articles, but I kind of want to read some excerpts out of them. So it's going to be a little bit incomplete. The first one is an article from the Veterans Administration. This came out in June 10th of 2019. This is called studies. Is basically, it says studies shame worsens the outcomes for vets with PTSD. So we're going to read a little bit of this. We're going to kind of jump around a smidge, and go to some other articles and stuff. And I see that Alamo has already pulled that up. So just so yes.
Just a
Um,
smidge yelling.
by the way, did you get that? Did you get that banner made for Mr. Lee for his thing for the $100 off?
Ooh, I did not.
I can't even find that thing. I was looking for it earlier. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, we got to get it made though because yeah,
Yeah,
$100 off, man. It's not
we need
bad.
to break that up. Anyway, yeah, it was on I think our messenger at some point. But anyway, so let's read this article. Sorry, sidebar tonight. So, um, this is from June 10th of 2019. In the veteran community, PTSD is often associated with combat trauma. Witnessing a horrific event like a deadly roadside bombing or the killing of a child can take an emotional toll, on someone, causing that person to relive the event and feel angry, depressed, or distant. The shame in which a person feels responsible for what happened and views himself or herself as a bad person play a role in worsening the emotional and day-to-day struggles of someone with PTSD. Shame is a common symptom for those with PTSD. VA researchers are exploring that question. Some are finding that feelings of shame exacerbate conditions for veterans with PTSD, even causing them to have thoughts of suicide, which is known as suicide ideation. A study led by Dr. Catherine Cunningham, a research psychologist at the Durham VA healthcare system in North Carolina, found that shame fully accounted for the effects of PTSD on suicidal ideation. The findings suggest that shame may represent a key link between PTSD and suicidal ideation among veterans, the researchers write. The study appeared in the Journal of Affective Disorders in January of 2019. It included 201 mostly male veterans who had been treated for PTSD. Another published paper con- connected shame to a rise in verbal aggression among vets with PTSD. Dr. Laura Crocker, a clinical psychiatrist at the VA San Diego healthcare system, led the study, which included 127 mostly male veterans. It appeared that in 2016 in the Journal of Psychological Trauma, or it appeared in 2016 in the journal Psychological Trauma Theory, Research, Practice, and Policy. Both studies included veterans who experienced combat trauma in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In each paper, the researchers measured the veterans' level of shame using the internalized shame scale, which evaluates the extent to which shame becomes magnified and internalized. The scale looks at feelings of inferiority, worthlessness, inadequacy, and alienation in assessing a person's degree of shame. Cunningham and her colleagues expected that shame would partly, but not completely, explain why PTSD increases suicidal ideation. They were surprised to learn that shame appeared to be the main reason why PTSD was elevating thoughts of dying by suicide. What surprised us was just how important shame appeared to be, Cunningham says. Among the veterans in our study, shame fully explained why PTSD was increasing suicidal ideation. So it was shame and not the other PTSD symptoms that were leading to more suicidal thoughts among veterans. This means that shame is an important suicide risk factor that we need to better understand, both for people with PTSD and for those who don't have PTSD but who do feel intense shame. So I am going to stop right there. Okay. I am now going to switch over Alamo to the end. Well, I'm going to deal. Well, no, I'm sorry. Go to that next article where it starts talking about moral injury. If you want to click over to that, please. So, one of the things that we found researching, this topic in regards to the veteran community is something called moral injury. So he's going to pull up an article here quickly, and we're going to talk about that and kind of continue on this conversation because it's an important thing to talk about. Just kind of whistle a little bit. So, um, so I'm just going to go down, Macho. I'm going to read the first segment, what is moral injury, and then I'm going to cut down and then read moral injury and PTSD. And then I'm going to go over and talk
Roger
and
that.
continue. Cool. Okay. So, let's see here. Okay.
Me.
Exactly. What is moral injury? In traumatic and or unusually stressful circumstances, people may perpetrate, fail to prevent, or witness events that contradict deeply held moral beliefs and expectations. When someone does something that goes against their moral beliefs, that is often referred to as an act of commission. And when they fail to do something in line with their beliefs, that is often referred to as an act of omission. Individuals who also experience betrayal from leadership, others in position of power, or peers that can result in adverse outcomes. Moral injury is the distressing psychological, behavioral, social, and sometimes spiritual aftermath of exposure to such events. A moral injury can occur in response to acting or witnessing behaviors that go against an individual's values and moral beliefs. And I've also heard them referred to as core beliefs as well. So like things that just are a part
Yeah.
of you, that are part of your, moral fiber and your deeply laced part of yourself. So I think I just came to the conclusion I need to get glasses, and that really sucks. And I'm gonna have to. In order for moral injury to occur, the individual must feel like a transgression occurred, and that they or someone else crossed the line with respect to their moral beliefs. Guilt, shame, disgust, and anger are some of the hallmark reactions of moral injury. Guilt involves feeling distress and remorse regarding the morally injurious event. Shame is when the belief about the event generalizes to the whole self. Example, I am bad because of what I did. Disgust may occur as a response to memories of an act of perpetration, and anger may occur in response to the loss of feeling to a loss or feeling betrayed. Another hallmark reaction to moral injury is the inability to self-forgive and consequently engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors. Example, feeling like you don't deserve to succeed at work or relationships. I may know something about that. Moral injury,
Yeah.
yeah. Moral injury also typically has an impact on an individual's spirituality. For example, an individual with moral injury may have difficulty understanding how one's beliefs and relationship with a higher power can be true given the horrific event that person experienced, leading to uncertainty about previously held spiritual beliefs. Okay. Now, Alamo, if you will please skip down to the next part that said the segment after next, which says moral injury and PTSD. Perfect. All right.
Royer.
Let me just close that article out so I can quick click on it. Moral injury and PTSD. There is a great deal of overlap between moral injury and post traumatic stress disorder. Both begin with an event that is often life threatening and harmful to self or others. Guilt and shame are core features of moral injury and are also symptoms of PTSD. Their betrayal and loss of trust that could be experienced with moral injury are also common features of PTSD. For example, someone who is assaulted by a loved one may feel betrayed and have difficulty trusting others, whether or not they also suffered moral injury or PTSD. In regards to differences between the two, PTSD includes additional symptoms such as hyperarousal that are not central to moral injury. Although the core features of moral injury overlap with symptoms and common features of PTSD, it is possible to have moral injury and not meet the criteria for PTSD. In addition, distress from morally injurious events can lead to different symptom profiles than distress from traumatic events that elicit a fear based reaction. For example, one study found that perpetration based events where someone perpetrated an act outside of one's values, were associated with more re experiencing guilt and self blame than were life threatening traumatic events. Reporting perpetration is also associated with greater suicidal ideation, even after adjusting for PTSD, depression, and substance use. Exposure to morally injurious events is associated with both suicidal ideation as well as suicide attempts. Having moral injury in addition to PTSD is associated with greater PTSD and depression symptom severity and greater likelihood of suicidal intent behaviors. Studies that have evaluated core features of moral injury e.g., guilt and shame related trauma, have also found these to be associated with more severe PTSD, depression, and functional impairments. Potentially morally injurious events are also prevalent in those with probable PTSD and depression. Exposure to potentially morally injurious experiences have also been associated with substance use disorders. I know that kind of got a little bit repetitive there, but you kind of get an idea of what they're talking about. I think I think that was it, 'cause it goes into a lot more stuff there. So if so we talk about how like it talked about how like shame can be one of the byproducts of having an active. I think it was omission, I believe, omission or commission. I forget which one it was. Even though I just read the damn thing. Ridiculous. Right
Yeah.
here. Shame is when the belief about the event generalizes to the whole self. I'm bad because of what I did. So let's click over to that third article, if you would, there, Alamo. And this one was another one that we found. It's from a website called Gottman.com, which is for the Gottman Institute, which is a research-based approach to relationships. This one is called How to Deal with Shame.
Got
Not got him, but Gottman. Yes. While you're doing that, I'm going to wet the whistle again.
Gatman. What the whistle?
Did you get pulled up yet?
Scheiße. Yeah.
Scheißenhofen.
Yeah, the stupid window closed. Hold on.
My allergies have gotten better, but now I've just got this crazy little like post-nasal drip. It's like, ugh, so freaking annoying. If you folks, by the way, sidebar to the folks watching or listening at home, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of an interesting concept, look up botanical sexism. That shit will blow your mind.
Yeah.
That is some.
I had to.
Is your tech stop working? Your feed's also not working. There it is. Okay, just came back. But yeah, folks, botanical sexism. Basically, in short, when all these
it's
city
acting
and
slow as
stuff were looking at planting trees back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, the idea was that they were going to use male trees because there are a difference in trees. There's a male sex and a female sex. And basically they went with male trees because the male trees just give off pollen, but don't drop seeds, seed pods, those kind of things. But male trees give off all the pollen. That's why all these trees now, the cars in these cities are all yellow because all the trees are freaking male and they don't have any female trees nearby to collect the pollen for pollination purposes. So it's like I would rather pick up seed pods than have all this damn pollen floating around and just all this crap. It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's an interesting read. So do some research on that kind of stuff. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So what now?
Absolutely fascinating.
All right, you gotta pull that stall in there. So this article, again, it's called How to Deal with Shame. It's from Gottman.com, Gottman.com. It's called How to Deal with Shame. This is dated. It doesn't have date on it, so whatever. So, shame is a debilitating feeling that takes over the mind and body. It can make you feel small and incomplete while building walls around you to keep out compassion. Despite wanting to be seen and known, shame causes people to hide behind masks instead. So this is what really caught me. This first section right here is what caught me. Healthy shame versus toxic shame. Shame is felt universally across countries and different cultures. Homes and schools use social shaming, well, I say that 3 times fast, to ensure expected behaviors. While healthy shame is necessary to keep society intact and ethical, this isn't what causes distress and pain in so many people. Healthy shame guides towards self correction, making amends, and growth. Toxic shame, on the other hand, can be very harmful psychology. It's deeply absorbed in the nervous system, meaning you feel it in your gut. Toxic shame is self punishing and lingers on. Oftentimes, it uses negative self talk, such as, I am such a bad person, I give up, instead of, I did something bad, how can I fix it? I am not good enough, instead of, I am worthy just the way I am and I can work on improving myself. And I am a failure, instead of, it's okay to fail, I'm learning, I can try again. You learn these negative beliefs through shame inducing caregivers, teachers, bullies, partners, friends, toxic NCO leadership. That's not in there, but I'm going to add that in there because that applies. This leads to feeling alone, disconnected, and more likely to engage in self destructive behaviors. According to Breeny, Breeny Brown's research, shame is related to violence, aggression, depression, addiction, eating disorders, and bullying. How to step out of shame. Here's the truth about shame. The less you talk about it with someone safe, the more control it has over your life and psychological well being. The fear behind shame is usually the belief that sharing your story and being who you are will make people think less of you. It fights against the human need for acceptance. One aspect of healing is creating an internal sense of safety so you can share your shame in the first place. If you don't feel safe, you can't share. You need to tell your story to safe people who will listen and not judge. And that's important. That obviously takes time and to develop that kind of relationship with someone. I know offhand, I've got probably 5 people that I could name offhand that can easily fill that role. Just 'cause I've known them for so long and the kind of relationship I have with them. That's very important.
Yeah.
It's judging judgment. That's another conversation we can have. Judgment, like
Mhm.
that'd be a good one
Judgment of
for sure.
oneself.
Well, just judgment in general. I mean, just talking about it all the way. But anyway, like I was saying,
Mhm.
finding someone like that. If you have that one person in your life, where you can talk to them and they can not judge you, but you have those just candid conversations where like they don't care about hurting your feelings. They're gonna keep it 100, as the kids say nowadays. They're gonna keep it 100, keep it real. You know, that's that's something you just can't take and go buy on a shelf, in a store somewhere. Like that has to be just fostered over many, many, many years. And it's a wonderful thing when you have that kind of stuff going on. You sit there and talk with your friends, and you're just like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, hey, man, it's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna tell you, that's kind of fucked up.
Mhm.
Okay, I love you, but it's fucked up. Anyway, back to the article. So, such safety is necessary to feel vulnerable. Talk to a therapist with whom you can connect can start the process of feeling internal safety. If done successfully, all of this will lead to externalizing shame. Instead of being shame, shame becomes something external that you picked up and now are choosing to let go of. Externalizing shame, oh crap, my light just went out. Externalizing shame is so empowering. Through it, it can develop more compassion. This is going to be bright for a second. Oh, actually not. Um, Through it, you can develop more compassion for yourself and others in this process. According to Dr. Stephen Porges' poly, polyvagal theory, safety is critical for humans to function well, be creative, and connect with others. When people are gentle, this creates a space for co regulation. For connection between two people to be supportive and promote co regulation of the physiological state, the expressed cues need to communicate safety and trust. Okay? These
Mhm.
cues of safety help calm the autonomous nervous system. The calming of physiological state helps create safe and trusting relationships. When the nervous system detects danger, you move from connection into states of protection. Shame tries to protect you from others because it falsely believes that they won't like you otherwise. Your job is to show your nervous system that it is safe and okay to share your story and that you are still likable and worthy. However, when you try to step out of shame, you may experience internal resistance in a form of negative thoughts and bodily reactions that tell you it isn't safe to do so, even when you are around safe and supportive people. This is a trauma response, and you need skills to soothe and manage it. Another part of healing is developing distress tolerance skills, managing the uncomfortable emotions that arise when you choose to express your shame. Excuse me. To free yourself from shame, you need to share it and process it. Sometimes that is hard to do, even with safe, supportive people. The mind and body try to keep you safe by reminding you that all things that could go wrong. When you are dysregulated, it is difficult to be rational. Many of the coping strategies you use when experiencing overwhelming emotions only make your problems worse. Some of those unhelpful coping methods can include ruminating about past problems and mistakes, worrying about the future, isolating yourself, numbing with substances, or taking out your feelings on other people by getting angry and blaming them. As you can see, none of these are helpful. What healthy coping skills do you have that soothe you when you are upset? Therapy can help develop these skills so that your journey of stepping out of shame is more tolerable. There are many stress tol- bleh. There are many distress tolerance skills you can learn with a licensed mental health professional, as well as processing the origins of your shame. The one truth to remember is that everyone can feel shame. You are not alone. Healing is possible. And that is a good message to end that conversation on. Yes, like we have said many times before, you are not alone. It is very important. Shame, everybody feels it. It's part of being, human. It's part of being, you know, having emotions and having feelings and thoughts and all that kind of stuff. Not everybody's proud of everything. There are things that bring you shame. There are things that cause shame for you, that you are
Mhm.
going to feel. It's important to take the proactive step of processing, analyzing, discussing it with somebody that you can trust to do so. Um, it's never good to just take all that stuff and just bury it down into that glass case of emotion deep down inside your gullet. So yeah, don't do that. You know, what did you want to say to all that, Alma?
No, I actually like I both like relate and understand and I kind of I understand like a lot of where a lot of this was coming from. Like I know for a fact I have had shame when it comes to specifically just you know things that I've dealt with my with my kids, and I think that's fairly common um among a lot of dads. You know what I mean? You don't always feel like you're being super dad. There's times where you think to yourself like, well, crap, I feel like I could have handled that better. I feel like I could have done something a little bit more. You know, honestly, that just makes me a shitty dad. Like I'm not a good dad. I think every guy has, as long, if you're conscious about what you're doing wrong, you know what I mean? You have those moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that goes for your marriage. I mean, that goes really for any relationship that you're in. Whether that is friendship, marriage, relationship with your kids, your parents, all that stuff. We all experience some level of shame at some point. um I know, like I said, I've experienced it, in moments when, being a dad. I've experienced it in moments, um, you know, when my short-lived, career in law enforcement. I felt it, you know, during my military career. I felt it in my relationship with my wife. You know, I think it's it's a deal with,
Yeah.
but it also you also have to learn how to work through it. And I think
Oh, for sure.
that's the biggest lesson to take out of here is how do you push through, the shame? How do you get past it? How do you work out in your mind like, okay, yeah, I messed up here, right? But is there a way to push past that where I don't feel like a piece of shit every single time I think about that certain thing? Or if every time I, look at the relationship I've had with this individual, this person, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think it's a very valid thing to talk about because, you know, I'm just going to say it from a guy's perspective specifically. As guys, I mean, what do we do? Here's the bottle, right? I'm gonna take this. I'm just gonna shove that in there, and I'm gonna take this other thing, and I'm just gonna go like and I'm just and what's this? Oh, relationship with my father. I'm gonna take that, and then I'm gonna shove that down in there, and I'm just gonna bury it deep, and I
Yeah,
think
we
as
got a bad
men
habit of doing that.
we yeah, and I think it's important for us to talk about it because a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't talk about it, and
Yeah, I mean,
we should be
just like
talking
with
about it
this
more.
show, we talk about things that are hard to talk about just to help break that stigma. It's okay to feel like crap because hey, I failed at this. I brought, especially like I mean, even if you were talking earlier, like we were talking earlier about like the different cultures, and shame is through all these different cultures. You go over to like some of these Asian, Asian Pacific Asian countries and whatnot, and like you go into like the Japanese, and they have like honor killings where they brought shame, so they do honor killings. It's just like that's some heavy
Was it
stuff.
what is it they called it? I think it was seppuku or not seppuku. Was it
Hold on,
what
I'll
was
look
it?
it up right now.
I was gonna say it was something. Like essentially, I brought dishonor and shame to my family by not facing off what I was supposed to face off at. And yeah, that was something that was very rampant, throughout that culture back then. Specifically with like the samurai, like the samurai. I mean, geez, like you talk about like, oh yeah, I lost a battle and I was the only survivor and you know, but I ran instead of facing them off, and not dying with honor. Oh,
So
for
if
shame.
I just brought up an article on honor killing, and it actually man, it's a big article just because it goes into a lot of different aspects
I
of it.
bet it is.
It's
I
like,
bet it
oh,
is.
buddy, it's yeah, methods of it basically it's like sanctioned murdering.
Hmm.
It's a traditional form of murder in which a person is killed at or killed by or at the behest of members of the
Yep.
family due to culturally sanctioned beliefs that such homicides are necessary as retribution for the perceived dishonoring of the family by the victim.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets wild. Methods of murder include stoning, stabbing, beating, burning, beheading, hanging, throat slashing, lethal acid attacks, shooting, and strangulation.
Yeesh. Stoning, going Old Testament on them. That's an Old Testament. That's an Old Testament method. And
Like this is a long ass article too. It's like good lord.
it's funny because you think about some of the stonings that used to happen back, well, specifically like in the Middle East, like back in like during what we would consider like the biblical era, historical era. Um, a lot of people would actually get buried up to like right here, sometimes about maybe shoulder. Their bodies, so that way they wouldn't be able to move. And what they would do is they would let people take stone. They would just gather a bunch of stones, and it would just be like, whoop, and they would just start chucking rocks at the person's head until, well, they were dead. It, it I mean, the punishments back then were freaking brutal.
Okay,
Absolutely
let's change
brutal.
the subject, dude. I just went down. My head just went down a deep dark rabbit hole. So let's get back on track here.
History is interesting, y'all.
Oh
And
yeah,
very
brutal,
brutal.
brutal. Anyway, so that's our talk on shame. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to leave some comments on any of the social media apps or the social media apps or any of the streaming services that you might listen to this on. We'd love to hear feedback.
Like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna start closing out the show, and we have a couple of announcements at the end of the show, as we always do. So, we started this. For those of you that don't know, we started this podcast a few years ago. We found out that a friend of ours, guy that we used to work with, a guy named John Rowan, funny fucking dude, just hilarious guy. You know, we found out that he unfortunately solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution and committed suicide. And we were both kind of in the process of wanting to reach out to John. And then we started talking about working together. We found out about John, and then I told Alan, I was like, dude, I'm in. Like, whatever we're going to do. So we just discussed what we would do. We talked about doing a podcast. And as I said many times, like, dude, I don't know shit about a podcast. And Alan was like, send a monkey in space. How hard can it be? And I'm like, valid point. So we came up with the idea for the Battle Bros podcast.
I pulled that out of my ass.
I know, but it's like that's us though. It's just like,
yeah.
Try this, good sir. Anyway, so we came up with the idea for the Battle Bros podcast. We came up with the idea for the Battle Bros code. And what the Bros code is basically 4 little tenets that you can help remember to keep yourself around, keep yourself here, and keep yourself in the fight that is the fight that we call life. So the first thing to remember is be tenacious. No matter what you do it with tenacity. Do it all out like there's no tomorrow. Do it with vigor and gusto and all that kind of stuff. No matter what you do in life, being a parent, even if you have moments that you feel shame, feel regret, like I'm really not doing my best. I talk to my daughter quite a bit, and I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. I just want you to know. She goes, and you're doing a great job. And she's not just saying that to blow smoke up my hind parts. She means it, and I believe her. So, God fooled, got him. Anyway, no, just kidding.
Got him.
But no matter, like I was saying, no matter what you do, like do it. Like you don't have anything else better to do. Like go out and do it with enthusiasm, with pride, and just that vigor for life. That anything else you would do anything else with. As the great Ron Swanson once said, "Don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. Do everything you can to do that 1 thing to the best of your ability." So be tenacious. R, refuse to surrender. There are going to be plenty of times where things don't go according to a plan. You may feel shame. You may feel disgust. You may feel isolated. Things happen. We all have those moments where we get caught in a funk or we just aren't ourselves. That's okay. It's what you do to counteract that that's going to determine how you move forward. And if you refuse to surrender, you're going to say, I'm not taking that solution as an answer today, so I'm going to pick myself up and keep striving on. So refuse to surrender. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Kind of going along with the last one. When those things do come up in your life, those obstacles that you have to navigate around, do that. Traverse them, go over them, go under them, go around them, dig under them, swim downstream to get to a point where you can continue on your journey. Sometimes it means taking a little trail walk through the woods, get back on the main path down the way. Sometimes it means taking C4 in Bangalore's and breaching a wall, breaching a door, breaching a building. Sometimes it means, oh yeah, clack. Sometimes it means backing an armored vehicle into a structure to open up an entryway.
It's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. It's Sarge, my bad. Yeah. No matter what happens, obliterate your obstacles. S. Seek out help in a time of need. This is probably the most important tenet of the Battle Bros Code. There are plenty of times when we don't feel like ourselves. There's times when we feel like all hope is lost. There's times when we feel like, what am I doing here? Um, I suck at who I am. I suck as a person. I'm a shit person. I just should be out of everybody's way. Bullshit. That's not true. You deserve to be here just like everybody else does. Okay. There isn't any one thing that Alamo or myself would not give to have John back, because John was a dude worth knowing. He was a funny guy. He was full of great stories and loved to laugh. Just every time I think about his laugh, I chuckle because it was so good. We had
Such an
so much.
intense laugh too. Just
Oh, it was very intense, and we had so much.
it was just, and
So
that was when
good.
you like knew that was when you knew he really, really found it funny. Like,
The shit that we did
oh
at work
man.
and the fun that we had for just and when we worked together, it was a pretty good job. Like we didn't really have to do it. It was serious work. We had a lot of
Right.
responsibilities, but we made it fun and we made it. Made the time pass. And every once in a while, we do some quote unquote dumb fuckery. But yeah, I mean, like, that's what you do when you work with
Mhm.
people you like. It's like you get into some shit and some shenanigans here. It's like, all right, whatever.
We helped people make better decisions to fulfill their 2A rights. What more serious and better,
Oh, we
you
helped.
know?
We vicariously lived through these customers spending all their money. It's like, yeah, best thing ever, man. Was John freaking the ammo Jedi. Why buy a box? You can buy a case.
Why buy a
Dude,
box when you could buy a case?
it's like 1,000 rounds.
It's like 1,000 rounds.
Oh, John, we miss you, buddy. We love you. We
Oh.
miss you, man. But anyway, um, that being said, if you run into those points in your life where things get a little bit heavy and a little bit serious, like reach out, talk to somebody. We're not humans. We're in the same category as primates. We have evolved from primates, but also the fact that we're social creatures. We have a hierarchy. We have a social structure in our groups and whatnot, and
Mhm.
that's something that people forget. Like when they get in these little spots, they get in their own head. It's like reach out to your friends, your family members. Depending on who you trust to have those conversations with. Like I said earlier in one of those articles, reach out to one of these folks that you can have an honest conversation with. That's not going to judge you. I mean, if they're giving you feedback and it's harsh, it's because they know you better than most people know you, and they're like, I'm going to
Mhm.
tell you something because this is what you need to hear, and I'm going to keep it 100. So yeah, so absolutely. Whatever that looks like when they reach out to somebody, whether it's a family member, a friend, a sibling. I talked to my younger brother about a lot of stuff. Um, my older brother, a little bit, when he was alive, just depending on what it was. Certain things, yes, certain things, no. My younger brother, we're probably a little bit closer, and because we're just closer in age. So, we're kind of similar mentalities. Um, there's sometimes, if I need to talk to somebody, I talk to this guy right here. I've called him all hours of the night. Sometimes we've sat up at his house, just kind of talking about shit. I mean, a couple weekends ago, we were in Orlando doing the 5K for Nami Walks Orlando with the ladies from Tish's friends over at FCCD. Shout out to those ladies. Woo woo. They were so much fun to hang out with. Um, Whatever that looks like, if it's people that you served with, if it's friends that you might have been in the military with, you know, whatever that looks like, that support system is there for you. Okay. Um, if you ever feel like you're going down a bad road, if you don't have anybody you can reach out to, there are resources available. There is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-8255, or type the word talk, TALK.
Yep.
You can also reach them by dialing the 3-digit code 988. That's 988. You can use that from a from a smartphone, cellular device, whatnot. You can also use that for talking or texting, because let's face it, everybody's on a damn smartphone nowadays. So
Sure the hell
there are
are.
options out there. They are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please don't feel like you are alone in this. You have options and resources out there. So just remember that we are trying. One of our stated missions that we are trying to eradicate this number right here, which on average is the number of military veterans that commit suicide every single day. 22 is a lot, but it also hurts a lot worse when you know at least one of those 22 people, as we did with John. So that is something that we take very seriously to heart. We don't joke about that shit. Um, that is our calling by taking up this crusade with his podcast. So
Yar.
yeah, just remember, like I said, with the four tenets: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, and seek out help in a time of need. If you can remember those four things, 95% chance that you're going to be okay. So outside of that, you might need to seek additional help. There are others out there that can help you with that, but for the most part, it's going to give you a fighting chance. That's all that matters. We want to keep you here. You deserve to have your story told, and that's all I want to say about that. So I'm going to hand it off to Alamo. He's
Sometimes
going
a
to
fighting chance
handle
is all you need.
fighting chance. So I need. That's right. I'm going to hand it off to Alamo. He's going to plug all of our social media stuff. Then we got two announcements at the end, and then we're going to get out of here for this week, and we'll sign off and all that good stuff. So Alamo, take it away.
If you'd like to catch up with us on the social medias, you can also do that at facebook.com/slash battlebros.podcast. You can catch us on the Instagram at battlebros_podcast. And you can also find us at battlebrospc over on X, formerly known as Twitter. On every single one of those platforms, you can contact us via the instant messaging drop us a message, drop us some likes, drop us some comments, let us know what shows or what show subjects you'd like to hear about, if any. Because hey, we're always looking for something out there. We've got plenty of different shows out there in the pipe ready for some cool subjects, actually, by the way, too, coming up, that we really do feel like you guys are going to like, you guys and gals. If you're having a rough go at it, if you feel like um, you're not exactly doing too hot and you want to contact us in a manner that is a little bit more private, we have our Gmail, which is battlebrospc@gmail.com. That is, once again, battlebrospc@gmail.com, where you can drop us a message 24/7. We monitor that email constantly, waiting for somebody to drop us something. Look, everybody has a rough go at it. Everybody has their moments of weakness. And we're telling you guys and gals out there, whether you're law enforcement, military, doesn't matter, whoever you are, you could just be regular life. Look, don't make a decision that'll be permanent that you can't fix. You're not hurting just you. You're hurting everybody that is around you. And not only do you deserve better than that, for them, they mainly deserve better than they deserve better as well. So do them and yourself a favor. If you run into the issue where you're feeling like you're having a bad time, you can't talk to anybody, drop us a message at battlebrospc@gmail.com. Again, we're constantly monitoring that email. We will message you back and we could just have a conversation. Heck, we'll even, if it comes down to it, link like the Google Instant Messenger and try and talk to you that way, because we can make that private as well. But don't make a decision that will hurt more than just yourself, because we all know that that kind of decision hurts everybody around you. Um, Also, if you have other platforms that you like to catch us on, you can catch us on Spotify, Google, um, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, all those good platforms. Rumble right now, unfortunately, is having some issues. I'm in the process of trying to work that out with Rumble or Google, whoever. I'm assuming there's some restrictions going on somewhere, but I will be getting the YouTube Rumble crossover back operational hopefully soon. So that if you are a Rumble viewer, if you watch us on Rumble, you can catch us again on the platform and catch all of our latest episodes on Rumble. Um, Other than that, I got nothing.
So the two announcements that I wanted to bring up, one of them you've already known about. Our good friend Amelia has a side business that she does. She is a licensed insurance agent up in the suburb of Chicago, but she's pretty crafty and awesome. Does some cool stuff on the side. She has a website. It is etsy.com / shop / heart to hand homestead. And she makes homemade soap products that are phenomenal. They are amazing. Um, I have used
Yes,
them
they
for
are.
quite a while now, and they're awesome. Alamo likes his so much that he shaves with it when he's scraping his face and stuff.
Like butter.
They've got a lot of cool things going on there. They've got I'm a real big fan of the denim and leather scented soap. Alamo likes the coffee and rum because it's in Puerto Rico. I mean, duh, it's kind of a human. So yeah. But please check it out. Send her some love. Um, it is Heart to Hand Homestead. The website again is etsy.com / shop / heart to hand homestead is on the screen right now. Please check it out. You're supporting a small business. You're supporting our friend, and we would appreciate that if you would help her out. The other is an
Small
announcement that we
businesses
got.
built this country. Let's give
Exactly.
them some love.
This is actually an announcement for a good friend of ours. If you remember, in season 2, we started doing the VIP episode series where we interviewed different veterans and whatnot. This is from the very first guy that we interviewed. His name is Brett Lee. He's a high school classmate of ours. Um, we know him pretty well. Great interview. He was the first one that got that started. So he sent us a message a while back that says, I wanted to offer you a discount code to any of your listeners or veterans for behavioral assessments, which is called a DISC assessment, DISC, on my site, skilleddevelopment.com. The code is Battle Bros 100, and it gets them $100 off any DISC assessment. What is a DISC assessment? The John Maxwell DISC assessment is a powerful tool designed to help individuals understand their unique behavioral style and improve their communication skills. This assessment explores 4 main personality traits: dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. Hence the letters DISC. With this valuable insight, individuals can learn how to better interact with others and adapt their communication style to various situations. The assessment also provides detailed feedback and personal coaching to help individuals leverage their strengths and overcome their weaknesses. Whether used for personal development or for team building, the John Maxwell DISC assessment is an essential resource for anyone looking to enhance their interpersonal skills and achieve greater success in both their personal and professional life. Now, I just happened to pull up, while you were talking a minute ago, I happened to pull up the DISC assessment, and I'm looking at it. That is normally $150 service. So with $100 off, with the discount code Battle Rose 100,
That's $50.
it's only $50. So it's like, check it out. We're gonna put some banners up there for next week. We'll get those made out for the website and what the discount code is and whatnot. But yeah, shout out to Brent. He's a great dude. He's got a lot of good stuff going on. He's been posting this stuff quite a bit about the John Maxwell assessment and whatnot. So the website again is skilleddevelopment.com. Check that out. Again, as we talked about earlier, it's all about improving yourself. So we'll have banners up next week, we promise. But I don't have anything else. Do you, everybody?
I do not.
All right. Well, I guess we're done. So Thank you, everybody, for checking out episode 079. This has been the Talk on Shame. Hopefully, you learned something. If not, hey, go back and watch it again and try to learn something. Just remember also that sometimes it's not about you hearing the message, it's about you hearing it and passing it along to someone in need that might need to hear what we're talking about. You know, I get asked all the time by my daughter how many followers we have, and it's like, I'm sure we have some, meaning like 100 or
We
so,
have
or
enough.
maybe being. What's up? What'd you
We
say?
have enough.
Yeah, we have enough. But the most important thing is if we can stop one person from going down that dark path and becoming one of the 22, that
Yep.
to us is more important of a statistic than how many followers we have. So just remember that you are not alone. If you need to reach out to somebody, please do so. You deserve to be here. You deserve to have your story told. Don't do anything permanent. Okay, things can definitely be for the better. So, on that note, thanks again for watching. We will hope to see you guys next week for episode 080. We're over the halfway hump of this season, so we're in the home stretch now. But we'll see you next week, and just remember, I don't know, what did you do? I didn't hear what you did.
It was applause.
I didn't hear it, like it cut out. We're gonna have to work out the kinks with the audio mixer, okay?
We are definitely gonna have to work them out.
Yeah. Did you turn up the volume for where the sound effects are coming in? Oh, yeah.
Hold on.
I don't hear it. It might be that microphone too, but I can't hear the microphone either. Like I'm hearing a little bit of it.
Indeed.
Right. Anyway, this has been the Battle Bros podcast with Mac Nalmo. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. Just remember, until then, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, and seek out help in a time of need. If you do that, you have a fighting chance, and that's all that matters. So until the next time, you folks have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Battle Bros out.